Hey guys, welcome to another episode of God is Calling You to Homeschool. Now what? I am your host, Destiny, the Kingdom Homeschool Strategist, and I am so excited to have this chat with you guys today because we are days away from something that I've been working on diligently behind the scenes for months. Will finally be in the works. Our You Are Not Just a Mom, You Are the Foundation webinar is on this coming Sunday. It is 6 days away. I'm so excited for the transformation that I know God is going to begin in the women that are in the room. So if you have not registered already, make sure you run to the show notes really quickly and go ahead and sign up, save your seat. If you are registered and you are unable to make it, you will get a replay. But I strongly encourage you to be present, to be focused, do whatever you need to do to make sure that the babies are down, they are at peace, so that you can take about an hour, hour and a half tops. That's my time though, but like I'm giving that hour and a half for God to do what He wants to do. um, yeah, make sure you tag somebody in, get some help like we've been asking for, because you're going to want to be focused, your undivided attention, tapped in with the community that we are building that night, and paying attention to what God is trying to do in your life, and open to what I will share as the next step for you guys. So I'm really excited about that. I will say though that this has been a very interesting couple of weeks. One thing I do know though is that whenever I am about to do something transformative like that, something that God has told me to do, something that I know for a fact is what I'm supposed to be doing, life starts lifing. And that is definitely what has been happening for a while now, but definitely in the last 2 weeks. So I think I told you guys, I don't even remember to be honest, but last week, right after, you guys heard last week's episode, I burned my hand, and it was a cup of tea that was accidentally spilled on my hand. And initially it didn't hurt, but my God, it literally took almost a week to fully be able to move my hand, open and close my hand. But the crazy thing is, there were no scars. There was no skin peeling. It was internal pain. My God, my mind is going crazy as I'm telling this story, because it's like I'm literally getting the correlation that I'm gonna share it in a second. Let me finish the story. So if you looked at my hand, other than the fact that I couldn't open and close it, it looked normal. It looked like I had everything all together. It looked like I was not in pain. It looked like I could just go and go and go and do what I had planned to do that day. That week, actually, I had taken a break from a lot of things. I tried to, tidy up the house, reorganize our homeschool space, things like that. But I was really like decompressing for about a week before this. So the day that this actually happens, I wake up and I'm like, okay, today's the day I'm going to get back in it. I have to prepare for this webinar. And then this happens that morning. And like I said, you could see on the outside, it didn't look like anything was wrong. In the moment that the tea was falling onto my hand, it didn't seem like anything was wrong. But the damage was inside. The pain was coming from inside. And what was inside that wasn't dealt with immediately, or eventually, I took too long to deal with it. It started to cause excruciating pain on the outside. It impacted what I was able to do on the outside. So for at least 3 days, I could not use that hand at all. My God, because of the pain that was hidden underneath the surface, I couldn't use it. And I'm like going crazy in my head right now because the correlation that I'm certain that God just dropped in my spirit is that when we, especially as moms, are not dealing with what's going on inside of us, we cannot show up the way that we need to on the outside of us. We cannot. Ooh, it looks on the outside like we have it all together, and we don't. There's pain, there is hurt, there is situations, there's trauma, there's so many things on the inside that is hidden, that is keeping us from doing our job. It's keeping us from opening up. It's keeping us from doing what is needed, what our responsibilities are. I forgot to say the part of this was my right hand. This was my dominant hand. This was the hand that I did everything with. I couldn't type. I tried. I tried. I had stuff to do. And it was painful. I tried to open my hand and it was painful. Literally, the damage that was done to my hand that week, like when I say I couldn't open or close my hand, when I went to reach for the cup is when it was spilled, right? So the tea fell on to my hand in the position that I was in, the position that my hand was in as I'm grabbing the cup. So the position that my hand was in when I went to reach out to get it is the position that I got stuck in, basically, for days because of the pain. So imagine, like if you're not driving or anything, act as if you're about to grab a coffee mug, okay? And before you fully close your hand, like that is the position that my hand was left in for days without pain. I tried so many things. I tried, the pain relieving creams. I tried ibuprofen and Tylenol. We tried like a cool rag. None of these things was taking away the pain. It wasn't until I was like, okay, let me stop trying to use it while it is hurting and just wait. Let me just continue to pray. Let me just tap into what God is saying to me in this moment, because I know that, like, seriously, I have things to do. I cannot not function for a whole nother week. I have stuff to do. So let me tap in. God, what is it? Like, was this an attack? Was this that I needed more time with you? And I think it was a combination of both. I do think that I needed a few more days before I dove into preparing for the webinar, because maybe 2 days later, after I surrendered, after I was like, okay, whatever it is that you want, God, whatever it is, if you want me to rest for a few more days, if you want me to just make sure that I can hear from you for a few more days, okay, fine. Okay, that's not where I thought this was going, because you also told me to do this other thing. And, I kind of got to prepare for that. But okay. But as soon as I did that, it was like day 3 that I woke up and I felt so much better. Not my hand per se. My hand was still hurting a little bit. But mentally, I felt better. I felt like, okay, today's the day that I actually need to record some stuff. Fast forward a couple more days. So my hand is finally healed. Per usual, I have like a basic outline of these conversations. But one thing I do before I press record is I ask God to speak. I ask him to take over the episode. So, like, y'all, I really don't be planning on going on these tangents. But I hope and pray that they actually do help, because they're helping me. Like, this conversation is helping me as I am saying it. But fast forward a few days. Also, if they do help, make sure you are leaving a review, because it helps me to know that it's helping you. Fast forward a few days, and now my daughters are sick. And I'm like, bruh. Okay, I can kind of manage this. They're my two oldest kids, so I don't have to like baby them per se. I can give instructions. I can kind of separate them so that the rest of the house doesn't get sick. It's all good. It's a little bit stressful, but it's okay, right? Come to find out, I thought they just had a cold, and they didn't. So without using the word specifically, I will say that about a few days after that, I start not feeling well. We are in like week 3 of the story now. Like, when I say I have really been wanting to get stuff done and have not been able to, a few days after, they are finally feeling better, right? Now I don't feel well. I have an excruciating headache. Now, if you know me personally, you know that tension headaches and migraines are just a thing. Like, I'm working on it. I'm working on finding a solution that does not involve prescriptions and things. Where the migraines originated from is a different story for a different day. But I'm like, yo, my head is pounding, right? This doesn't feel like a normal headache, but I am pretty stressed at this point because I am making some major changes in my business and I have yet to be able to fully focus on them. So yes, I am a little stressed. So I do, what I usually do if it's a tension headache, and then I'm like, it's not going away. I do what I usually do if it's a migraine. I do what my doctors have told me. I'm taking the magnesium, I'm drinking the water, I'm taking the prescription, and I'm like, yo, what is happening? Day 2, and I think it was day 2 at least. It was day 2 or 3. My head hurts so bad, y'all. So bad that my literal scalp is aching. And I'm just at this point, I'm like, God, okay, what is happening right now? I have done what I know to do, and literally nothing is working. What is it? Do you need me to, am I not spending enough time again? Like, is this a wake up call? What is going on? But the headache gets worse and worse and worse. Touching my head ached. Like, my neck ached. My body ached. So yes, that was day 2. Day 3, I wake up, the room is spinning. I try to get up to use our bathroom and, get ready for the day. And I feel like all of the energy had left my body the night before. And not just in a I'm mom tired kind of way, in a I know exactly what this is kind of way. There's only one thing that gives me an excruciating headache, takes all of my energy, makes every move feel like it has taken the last few breaths out of my body, and leaves me feeling like crap. I said, I know exactly what this is. Mind you, I had figured out what my daughter had a few days prior. So that was another stressor. I'm like, what the heck? Okay. That's not what I expected. So, in case you haven't figured it out yet, I now have to spend at least 5 days in my room, separated from everybody. Miserable. Completely miserable, because like I said, there's only one thing that can cause me to shift in bed or shift in my seat, and I feel like it took every ounce of energy and I'm breathless just from shifting. I'm like, y'all, I have stuff to do. Like, oh my gosh. But it's so funny now that we've gotten to this part of the story because I'm going to tie in the verse for today real quick. We are now at Proverbs 31 and 21, right? She is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. Again, she is not afraid of snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. This is Proverbs 31 and 21. Sis is prepared, okay? She is prepared. Now, how in the world does that tie into my life story from the last 2-3 weeks? Well, for one, before all of this, I actually did, unbeknownst to me, get a whole lot done for this webinar, for the business changes. A lot has transpired over the last few months. God has really revealed a lot. He has really put some amazing people in my life that have been the greatest resource, that have literally been a godsend, right? So my world has been spinning for months. And I'm kind of okay with that because it's spinning in the right direction. But this verse made me think about how I was a little more prepared than I thought. So, of course, once I started feeling better, I'm like, okay, God, what do I have the energy to kind of start working on? You know, I can do a little bit, and then when I start feeling overwhelmed, I'll just close my computer. So that's what I did. I would do a little bit, a couple days in, and then when it became too much, I would just stop. I would rest. I would make sure that, I did what I needed to do so that when I came out this room, I felt better. I was learning. I wasn't just sitting here staring at the paint on the walls. I was using the time that I typically do not have, time mostly to myself, other than when they were checking on me, to really tap in. Like, God, what do you want me to use this time for? But the preparation was in how we have raised our kids. For one, a couple of those days, my husband still had to work. So the kids had to function without me, with me, obviously, but without me because I was in the room separating from them. But they were prepared because boundaries are in place. Responsibility is taught. Instructions are given. And they are really, really, really good kids. I was able to, send like worksheets to the printer one day when I realized they're probably getting a little bored. Let's switch it up and start, because we start school in a week too. Let's switch it up and start getting them acclimated again, right? We've done stuff all week, all summer long, but the last couple of weeks, like I said, has been crazy. I was able to send things to the printer from my phone, give instructions, and they did what I asked them to do. They have routines that are in place. They knew, okay, these things still need to be done. Now, did they even need reminders? Because, of course, they're kids. They're like, hey, yo, mommy's not out here to check and make sure we did what we were supposed to do. Did they need reminders? Yes, because they're kids. But the routine was still there. The structure was still there. I was able to be at peace and tap into what God needed me to do in this season, in this moment, because my home was peaceful. We have rhythms. We had support, even from the outside. We had my mom send us pizza and send us food. We had my mother-in-law to do the same thing. She sent us food as well. We had support. And I think that is important to note because we don't know what's coming. We don't know what's ahead. There is always going to be hard days. There's always going to be setbacks. And I think moms are often fearful of what is to come. But when you, one, tap in with God, notice I said even while I was here, I tapped in. Even when I was dealing with the hand burn, I had to tap in. Tapping in with God means you are putting him first. You are going to him. You're asking him, okay, how do I handle this situation? Now, do I always make that the very first thing I do? No, but I'm working on it. But I know enough to know that even if my first instinct as a human is to figure it out myself, I do end up going back to God because I am going to jack it up if I don't. So as I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, we are in the final countdown. I have this checklist that I have to make sure is done so that things flow smoothly. And I'm looking and I'm like, wait, I did that. Wait, I did that too. Oh my God. Don't get me wrong. Your girl still has a very long week ahead of her. But it felt good to know that God was preparing me. He was preparing me all along. See, the thing I love about God is that He knows what's coming. So when we're tapped in with him, he can help us prepare. There is no need to fear for what's coming. When you are staying in rhythm with your family, when you are making sure that you personally are taken care of, when you are able to spend time individually with God, you don't really have to fear a lot of things. The peace comes from the rhythm and the support. That's exactly what we're going to talk about in this webinar. You have to be at peace with yourself, first of all, and peace with knowing who you are, knowing your identity in Christ, knowing that you do matter in order for it to overflow into the rest of your household and into the rest of your family. If you're not consistent, if you can't stick to a rhythm, how do you expect your kids to? And not a rhythm of the school system has told us that this is what we do from early in the morning to the afternoon. I'm not talking about that because most of us that are listening to this podcast are homeschooling. But even if you're not homeschooling, the rhythm before and after school should be just that, a rhythm. Not necessarily that you have to give a task to every 30 minutes of your schedule, but there should be a rhythm, a routine. You're not just winging it all the time. Because how can you make time for what God wants you to do when you're winging it? When there's no type of structure to your day whatsoever. It's just, I wake up, okay, I guess we're going to do, some schoolwork today. What? I don't know. I'm going to figure it out as we go. Let me go to TikTok real quick and see what they're doing on there. And then maybe we can, incorporate some of that. And then, that might take the next 5 hours because I really wasn't prepared. And oh, snap, now I should probably figure out dinner because it took me forever to actually get up, to get started. And then it took me forever to actually implement what we wanted to do today. And now it's the evening. Or on the flip side of that, maybe, I am going off of my kid 100%. Do we need to make sure that our kids are happy and they get what they need as far as being outside and field trips and activities and things to do with other kids? Yes, 100%. But my kids don't run my rhythm. I incorporate them in my rhythm. I incorporate them in the family rhythm. It's not even just my rhythm. I am, in charge of the rhythm, the rhythm orchestrator. But we all play a part in this rhythm. right? The things that we each need in the day individually still should be a part of the rhythm, not only what the kids want to do. That's when you also get caught up in just doing everything for them. And now you don't have time to do anything for you, or time, definitely not time to do anything that God is asking you to do. So, for example, I'm still working on the rhythm for this coming school year. Like I said, we start after the webinar because I know myself. Again, I know myself. I know myself enough to know that I needed a boundary set. Last year, yes, we started the day after Labor Day. This year, I know, and probably every year after, that this is a major week for my business. That is just the way that it is. That is the idea that God gave me, is that what actionable steps are coming to help you in this process of refinding yourself and finding who you are in God should coincide with the school year with our kids. We learn together, right? That means that I have to make some adjustments in my own rhythm. That means that because what God is also calling me to do outside of my home is important, what inside of my home can I make an adjustment to that doesn't affect anybody negatively, but it keeps me from spazzing out? That adjustment is I need to push school back just a week. We can start the day after the webinar. Why do I have to start before and now I'm trying to plan for both? That's asinine, to be honest. Because preparing for the webinar is already going to be more than enough, right? So I have to make adjustments. I have to be willing to stick to a routine, to a rhythm. I had a talk with the kids just yesterday about some of the changes that we are making, some of the adjustments to our rhythm, the importance of them doing what I've asked them to do the first time, the importance of them keeping track of their own routines. If you have a chore chart and you know exactly when things should be done, why do I have to keep reminding you of when to do them? I shouldn't. So what system do we need in place to make sure that that doesn't happen? Me, on the other hand, I have to also be extremely consistent. In order for me to balance everything on my plate right now and not use either thing as an excuse when I know that they are all things that God has given me to do, and the answer is simply me being consistent. All I have to do is be consistent. All I have to do is stick to the rhythm. Part of what I am grateful for with being in this room for days now is I was able to sit here in silence and peace and figure out what that rhythm would look like. Now, does the rhythm make me cringe a little bit because I literally have to be consistent? Yes, it does. But I also know that what God is calling me to is bigger than my uncomfortability at the moment. I'm going to say that again. I know that what God is calling me to is bigger than my uncomfortability at the moment. Me being uncomfortable for, say, a month, 30 days, because I have to be consistent is nothing compared to the impact that I can make on my family as the foundation of my home. Mommy being consistent means everybody else learns to be consistent. It doesn't compare to the impact that I know will be made in what I am doing in my business. And I cannot use either as an excuse for not doing the other. I cannot use my kids as an excuse for not doing what God is calling me to do in my business. I can't use my business as an excuse for why I can't do what I need to do at home. So there needs to be a rhythm. I need to be prepared for what's to come. The Proverbs 31 woman was not afraid for what was coming. She was prepared. I thankfully, because I'm still learning too, guys, but I thankfully was prepared enough when I walked out, when I walk out of this room, when I'm finally out of separation. I know, even if there are toys everywhere, I know that, sorry, my kid's alarm is going off and it's so distracting. But I'm not gonna do any edits to this episode. For once. I don't even know how many episodes in. I'm not gonna edit anything out. We're gonna roll with it today. But I know that when I walk out here, because we had already organized things, I'm going to feel so much better because I know where everything is for school. I may not have finished, the decor or, everything to a T, but I am prepared. I was prepared for the hand burned unknowingly. I was prepared for being in this room for days unknowingly, because if I hadn't done all that we did in that room, the organizing, the throwing stuff away, the getting rid of things, the replenishing school supplies, I would be freaking out right now because I would have to do that on top of getting us ready for school, on top of preparing for the webinar. But thank God, I've learned every single day to say, God, what do you want me to do today? What do I need to do to make our lives easier? What does my family need from me today? All of these are so important. So, if I said anything in this episode that resonated with you, definitely, like I said, leave a review. But make sure you're registered for this webinar. You are not just a mom. You are the foundation. I know I touched on a couple of things in this conversation, but I'm sure that there's one thing that stood out to you. Let me know what that was. Let me know. And sign up. Register for the webinar. The link is in the show notes. It is September 7th at 7 p.m. Like I said, delegate. Get somebody to help you so you can be tapped into what God is about to do. Not me. I have things prepared, but I'm still only going off of what God is telling me to do. And I know that He is going to show up in the room. I know that there's going to be some light bulbs that are going off that are going to change the way you think about yourself, change the way you approach your life, change the way you approach your negative thinking. And you're going to be able to walk away with something, that an actionable step that helps you to move forward. Not only that, a way that we can work on that together in community. So if you don't want to do this school year alone, if you don't want to not be prepared, make sure you are joining us at the webinar. The girlies have been signing up, okay? They have been signing up. But I know a lot of us, we get really busy and we're like, ooh, that would be nice. Or we don't sign up because we don't know how the day is going to go, or, we don't have a rhythm. We don't have a rhythm that we can adjust just that one day. There's no rhythm that has allowed us to accept help, or who has, I don't want to say taught us or taught those around us to help us, but that's kind of what it is. If you don't receive the help, if you don't ask for the help, then nobody understands that you need help. Don't let your current lack of rhythm keep you from being in the room that night. Okay? I love you guys so much. I know I actually don't even promote this podcast that much, but the fact that you guys are still telling me that you're still listening and you look forward to the episodes warms my heart, because I do believe that God has me having these conversations for a reason, whether I post clips or not. So yeah, make sure you are leaving a review. You are subscribed to the podcast on whatever platform you listen to your podcast, and share it. If there's an episode that really inspires you, make sure you share it with another mom friend. Okay. I will see you guys on Sunday, hopefully. And then we will talk about the new school year, the webinar and all of that when we come back next week. See ya.